And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
When I first heard about the concept of war chest, I was certainly very interested in that. To have this war chest open up and be a abstract strategy game with poker chips, I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I've seen games like this before. We've seen, the idea of having nice pieces for an abstract tactical war game is not a new one. That's what chess has done for years. Beautiful little chess pieces that move around. Well, this uses nice poker chips. It comes in this actual war chest. Abstract strategy games are kind of a dime a dozen. There's a lot of them, but I'm always on the lookout for good ones. And this one is about control. Abstract strategy games often fall into have 5 in a row, capture your opponent's pieces. Well, in this one you can capture your opponent's pieces. Each piece moves differently. I have different pieces than you, and there's something in this game in which we call bag building or pool building. Let me show you. Now I have the game here set up as a 4-player game. A 2-player game would be played without these dark spots on the end. And the whole point of the game is you need to get out all your control markers. Each team has a certain number of control markers, and you need to have all of them out on the different locations that are on the board. The first team or person, if you're playing a 2-player game, to get out all their control markers is the winner of the game. Now you're going to be doing this by using various units in the game. There's going to be, in a 4-player game, each person will have 3 units. In a 2-player game, each person will have 4 units. And you'll have 2 people on the same team playing against somebody else, usually sitting across from each other and just taking turns going around. Now, when you have a unit, you're going to get a certain number of that unit. In the cavalry here, they'll get 4, while the royal guards, you get 5. 2 of those chips will be placed into the bag. So in this 4-player game, in this bag here, I have 2 of all 3 of these chips. I also have the royal coin, which matches my team's chip. So you can see the royal coin here. And this will also be thrown into the bag. So I'm going to be starting with 7 chips in the bag. At the beginning of each turn of the game, everyone's going to be drawing 3 chips from the bag, keeping them kind of hidden so you can see what they are here, like this. So here I've drawn 2 cavalry and 1 royal guard. And then starting with the first player, you're going to take turns going around the table. Now when it's your turn, you're going to be playing a coin from your hand. Now you can play a coin to deploy or booster a unit. So I don't have cavalry on the board at all, so I can play this, I can put it out, and so I'm on the wolf team here, so I'll place it on one of these 3 deployment spots. You can only have 1 of each unit on the board, so that's my cavalry unit. However, I could use another action and bolster it, add another chip to it to make that unit stronger. You can also spend a chip of that type to move it. So when you move somebody on the board, you basically can just move them to an adjacent space. As long as there's an unoccupied space, you can move to an adjacent space. If there's another unit adjacent to you, you can attack that unit and remove one of their chips. If that's the only chips, those chips are removed completely from the game and put back in the box. So as you're being attacked, you could eventually lose a unit completely. You can also pay a chip to use someone's tactic. So for example, the cavalry here has a tactic on the card where if you pay a chip, they can move and then attack. That's pretty good. They can move and then attack. That's a neat thing. Or the royal guard has a tactic here. It says discard the royal coin to move the royal guard. So they can use a royal guard chip, or they can use the royal coin chip to move them also. They also have special abilities on here. When they're attacked, you can remove a royal guard coin from the supply rather than from its unit. So each person has a special ability. The light cavalry can move 2 spaces when they move. Let's take a look over here. The crossbowman can attack someone 2 spaces away in a straight line. And the pikemen here, when they're attacked, so the person attacking them is going to lose a unit. So everybody has some sort of special ability, and they might have a tactic that they can use also. You also, when you play a chip, you can get rid of it face down. When you get rid of it face down, you can do various things. And the royal chip that you have, that's the only way to get rid of it, unless you have the royal guard, of course. So when you discard a chip face down, you can take one of your chips that you have in front of you on one of your three things and throw it into the bag. So that's a way to get more chips by discarding one face down. By the way, every time you use a chip, whether it's face up or face down, you put them here so people can see what chips that you've spent or not. You can also play a chip face down to claim initiative. There's an initiative token. Whoever has it goes first. However, once someone's claimed this chip over the course of a round, it can't be claimed by someone else, and it can go back and forth between the teams. Although if a team chooses not to take it, then it will stay with the same team from round to round. And you can also discard a card face down to pass. That's pretty much it. You're going to be moving around. Oh, I guess I should, one more thing, and that's pretty important. If you're on a space, you can discard a chip of that space on one of these things to put one of your control tokens on that space, or to get rid of someone else's token that is already there, and then on a future turn put one of yours on top of it. Because that is, again, how you win the game. Now, the whole core of this game are these chips. These chips are amazing. They're weighted, they're heavy, they're easy to tell apart both by their color and by the symbols that are on them. They just look fantastic. They feel great. They're just amazing chips. I love these. Obviously, they're going to make the game heavier. The whole thing is pretty heavy, fitting them in the box. The bags themselves are nice. They have the different team logos on them. So here I'm on the Wolf team, and I can reach inside, and it's really easy to pull the chips out. The chips don't feel like anything, so you can't feel around to find the one chip that you want. These here are not quite as nice. They're just cardboard punch-outs, but that's fine. That way you're not accidentally confusing them with the chips. And then the cards themselves. Each card, nice quality cards. They tell you exactly what they do and exactly how the pieces move. It's very simple. It tells you both in text and a pictorial diagram of how the cards work. So overall, the rule book also nice production. The box itself has a magnetic clasp lid, which is something I like. They even have FAQ in here, or you can do setups inspired by famous battles, which you don't really need to do. Just a very classy look, the whole game. Excellent game. Really is good. And there's a lot of reasons. Now, you've already seen the components are fantastic. Fine, but is the game itself good? And the answer to that is yes. It's very strategic. It brings back to mind some great games like The Duke and other great abstract strategy games. But what I like about this one is, at the beginning of the game, I love drafting my units. I'm going to sit there and go, okay, these are the units I want. I want to make sure I have these kind of fun units that are good to work together. But every unit has its weaknesses and strength. The crossbowman's great at a range, but it can't shoot through things, so it can be blocked and you can run in and get it. The pikemen are really great defensively, but they're also slow to move around the board. Cavalry are great moving around the board, but they can be shot by the crossbowmen or whatever. There's some neat concepts in here, and you want to draft together a group of 3 or 4 units that works together really well. By the way, I often think 4-player games in a 2-player, this is 2 or 4, I often think 4-player games are just hey, we're taking 2 players and splitting it up. That's kind of the case here, but I think it works really well in this instance. Normally I would say this is better as 2 or 4. I think it's just as good with both. But anyway, you have these different units, then figure out the best way to use them. Sure, the game could be about taking out your opponents, because if you do kill all your opponents or kill most of their pieces, then you can have an easier time taking control of the spots. But the bag building aspect is extremely interesting to me. One, it adds some luck to the game, because other than that, there's no luck. But sometimes you pull the chips that you want or don't want from the bag. But secondly, it's kind of this intriguing back and forth. If I bolster my units, make a powerful unit on the board, sure, hit me, I don't care, I'll keep coming after you. That's great, but the more chips I have on the board, the less times I can activate that unit because I'm pulling those chips from the bag less. Same thing if I have a lot of chips in the bag but only one on the board, I can activate it a whole lot more, but it's a lot easier for get to sniped and killed. So that concept, that back and forth, stronger but less maneuverable, weaker, is done very elegantly with this chip cycling through the bag. That, plus the fact that when a chip is killed, it's removed from the game, so the game is going to come to an end. There's a hard time limit on this game. So let's see what the box says. The box here says 30 to 60 minutes, and if you're super thoughtful and super thinky, you'll do 60, but you're going to see more games end to the 30, possibly 45-minute mark. And a 2-player game, easy 30 minutes. So I like that. I don't think games need to be brimming with theme. Yeah, they got pikemen and cavalry and all these units, sure. But I'm more concerned about, does it play well? Is there that back and forth? And is the replayability there? And the replayability is really high because at any given point, I doubt we'll play the same game twice. Sure, there's not unlimited combinations, but me, let's say I'm playing against you, I'll pick 4 characters, and I might be like, I love these 4 characters. I will take these exact 4 characters next time, but you might have a different 4 characters. And so there's that back and forth that gives it, to me, a little bit of edge over maybe something like chess, where you have the same pieces all the time. Not to mention the way your chips come out might be different. You might decide to move things. How fast do you want to throw more chips in the bag so that you have a bigger pool to pull from? Or do you want to get out there and start putting out your control chips? It's a tense, fun game, one where you're sitting there sweating all the time. Can I move next to you? Do you have a chip in your hand? Can you attack me? A little bit of, using your knowledge of what the other person has. Just fun all around. That's War Chest. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.